Hey guys, this is Murali here. Today's topic is like, what's your goal, what's your objective is going to be as far as the SAT is concerned, and how we break it down. We're going to tell you, I mean, in a previous one of the videos, like we talked about how important this is, like goal setting and setting up, coming up with your objective beforehand, and then like preparing a plan for it, and then like working the plan. So today, let's get little into what the goal should be and how you break it down. Okay, so the first, I mean, what is your objective for SAT, right? Like, what is your goal? What's the score that you want to get? Apart from putting the journey aside, what are the skills you're going to learn as part of preparing for SAT? But at the end of after taking the test, and then like, what is that you want your score to be? Is it 1800? Is it 2000? Is it 100? Whatever, right? So that we want to get some clarity over that. Remember, we always talk about clarity is power. So without clarity, when you have this confusion, when you have this vagueness around anything, uh, you won't get farther. Without clarity, clarity is power, period. You build clarity around certain things. You peel away the different fogs, smoke screens around certain things, anything. Then the more easier, more faster you get to your objective or dream. So some people say, when say, yeah, you come up with your objective, yeah, well, but as just because I came up with an objective doesn't mean I'm going to reach it. Well, if you have the clear objective and work through the plan laid out for you, right, apply the accelerated strategies, by law you will reach that goal. There's no doubt about that. You believe in that, you believe you can do it, and then you plan it and you work out the plan, apply it, and find accelerated strategies. Here we show them to you, apply them, and boom, by law you will reach that goal. There's no doubt about it, right? So let's see, what your goal could be, or let's get some clarity around that, right? So I want you to remember that average score for SAT is 1500. So usually the average score for each subject or each section is going to be 500. So if somebody, usually you'll hear all these inflated scores. But that's not true. The average is 1500. Those are the stats. So right, so if you getting a score between 1800 and 2100 is certain. You can get that score if you stick to the plan and work it. So what I'm saying is that a goal of somewhere between 1800 and 2100, like 2100, is possible, and is not only possible if you work it, play your game well. You will win that. You will get there, right? And there's and that score somewhere between 1800 and 2100 for an athlete or somebody is a great score. To get into some really good colleges, right? So you don't need to worry about, like, hey, I need to get 2100, like 2200, whatever, right? So remember how we see the mission, how we see the journey. It's a mission, and it need not. If you want to get there like a 2300, 2400, it has to be your passion. That's the only thing that you are going to do. But here you have some other priorities, right? Just getting, like, topping a SAT is not your priority. So somewhere there, like an 1800 is to 2000 is a great score for you, and you stick to your plan, work your plan, and you will get there. But I'm saying, the goal is your goal or objective should not be somewhere between 1800 and 2100. We want you to come up with an exact score that you intend to get, right? Exact score, not vaguely, somewhere here and there. But okay, if you think like 1900 is what I want to get, so be it. So get that clarity around it first. What is that you want? What is that you intend to reach as part of this objective, right? So for example, let's take the example, you come up with 1900, right? So remember the assessment you did. uh, you did, based on, we gave you the assessment test, right? So you have your strengths and videos. If you're not part of the team, like, you should have seen the video about assessment, right? So you actually, get to know what your strengths are, your weaknesses are. You need to understand who you are first before you plan the game or you play the game. So I mean, look at your strengths and weakness, like what your strength, what you're very strong at. Based on that, like you identify which sections you're good at. So for this example, okay, here when we are vaguely, I mean, we're just giving you an idea, laying down an idea of how you need to build your clarity around this goal. But it need not be this. It could be anything. Okay, if whatever you feel comfortable with. So let's say you for 1900, right? And let's say you're good at math, right? So we say that you can shoot for like 600, 600, and 700. uh, you can get like 1900. There is one, some people believe that it's easier to raise a 600 than a 500. So getting from 500 to 600 is actually like much difficult rather than getting from 600 to 700 or 700 to above. Yeah, I mean, if you actually look at the bell curve, I mean, the assumption is that, like, you need to score more correct questions. You need to answer more correct questions to get from 500 to 600 than to get from 600 to 700. I mean, you can look at the stats and numbers, but the thing is, like, the difficulty of the questions also increases on the same scale too. So meaning, let's say you can only get like, let's say 60, like 50% of it, right? To answer, like, to 70% or more, the difficulty, I mean, you're getting into more difficult questions, right? So once you get into that more difficult questions, then you are like, it is difficult to answer them, and thereby uh, same, like, so it's it's equivalent to getting like more answers right at a 500 level. So don't go by this, like, what I mean, which is easier and all. So basically, like, 600. Let's say, if you can shoot for 600 in some areas, and you can reach that. So let's translate that into a raw score, right? Like, for each of these areas, like you identified, like, how much you want to, you intend to get. So for each of these, what is the raw score that you need to get? How many rights, or, I mean, not how many rights or wrongs, but like what is exact, I mean, approximate raw score that you need to get. And around this, like, I want you to also know that uh, for your raw score, right? Like, for example, some of the tests you will have it's a difficult test, meaning like, uh, I mean, you can, I mean, with the same skills, with the same strategies or whatever, but some tests are difficult. Sometimes the tests are easier, but the test makers make it, they I mean, they actually equate it, they adjust it. So these differences, right? So for example, you scored 450 on one edition of a test, and it should reflect the same ability as the score of 450 on another edition of the test. So they make sure, if some test is very difficult, so make it, they may, I mean, probably they will scale the test, like, they'll grade this test little easier to make it, to get you a score of 450. That's what they promise, and I have no doubt they won't do that. So don't be scared, or don't think that, if a question, if certain test is very difficult, not necessarily you should flunk the test. They will grade accordingly. But the key is, what, I mean, what's your ability, what you've learned. So your raw score, let's see, for writing 600, if you like, if 600 is the score that your that's your goal, you need to get that 600 in writing. So the raw score is like, for in writing they have like grammar raw score, and then you have writing, which actually an essay. So it's basically like grammar raw score, you need to score about like 29 uh, to get that 600 level. And your writing raw score, like, you need to be around like 6. On a scale of 12, you need to be at 6. So that will get you a raw score of 41, which will be equal to 600. Similarly, for critical reading, for 600, your raw score should be around like 45. And for math, you need, if you want to get like 700, your raw score should be around like 47. Again, guys, like, I mean, this is not laid out in stone. We're not saying that, like, this is how you need to, uh, I mean, this is how you need, these are the numbers that you need to get. what we are saying is like try to be clear about your objective, not try to be very clear about your objective. What is the score you want to get, and break it down based on your strengths and weaknesses. What is the score in each subject area that you intend to get, and convert that into your raw score. So now you have a clear picture of like, okay, in each section, in this section, I need to get these many questions right. So I need to get this kind of raw score. So I mean, you're just like, peeling the onions away, and then putting putting some I mean, some concreteness to the abstract nature of this. So this definitely is helpful for a lot of students. I mean, this is one of the core techniques, objectives, and how we actually like build clarity around the objectives has helped them. Thanks, guys. That's it for today. Talk to you later. Bye.